the new offensive coordinator, for you, how much do you have to be ready to adjust to see? Because you're not positive what they're going to do.
I think any game one, you got to be ready for is whether they have a new OC or not, but especially with a new OC. But, I mean, guys are going to be watching you from last year and vice versa with them. So you're going to see they've had a year to prepare for you. So you're going to have to adjust. And having a new OC makes it that much more of a challenge.
They got explosive playmakers at wide receiver. I guess that is what they talk about. But don't know much about their run game. They've got big backs, and then they've got a quarterback that can run as well, almost like another tailback back there. What do you see from that? What concerns you about what they do in that regard?
Anytime you see that with the run-pass option game, you have a tough time getting to him. It's a way that any team that does that's their way to neutralize your front. And then anytime you face bigger backs, they can get you wore down if it gets to that type of game. So it's one of the things we're looking at, trying to prepare for, along with all the when they spread out with those receivers. So it's a big challenge.
What do you see out of Tagovailoa? What's your assessment?
I think he throws guys open a lot, especially in the intermediate middle parts of the field. He has for his size, I think looking at it, has a big arm, and he can hit some tight windows. And like I said, that's hard because you can have a lot of pieces in the right place, but he can throw some guys open. I think it's what he does best.
How have you guys approached making your pass rush better this year?
Pass rush is kind of, one of those things that you got to go. It's a lot of times a natural deal. So obviously that's one of the big evaluation areas in recruiting. You got to go find guys that can rush the passer. Now that being said, I think we've got some guys that we've kind of shifted around. And then at the end of the day, Coach Jackson, A.J. Jackson's done a phenomenal job. I think it's one of the areas we've really improved on just fundamentally from last year to this year. And so hopefully it'll have to be improved Saturday. But it's got some different pieces than we've had in the past. So
Have you seen enough from them to get an idea of what they are up front? I mean, they only played 5 games last year. They've got some new guys that they're working in on the offensive line. They got some guys that are dual backups, that type of thing.
yeah, we don't really know much about the interior. The 2 tackles are as good as a lot of guys we face in our league. The 2 tackles are really good. They're big, long guys. They're athletic, which when you have those guys in that style of offense, then those are the guys that you need. So don't know a whole lot about the interior guys, but they've recruited well. Expect them to be as talented as most any other Power 5 school we play.
Your depth in your front 6 last year wasn't great, and you had to sort of go with what you had. Do you think your depth is better this year? Do you want to rotate more because of that?
Yeah, there's 3 guys that have had really good camps that we needed to. Sean Martin, Jordan Jefferson, Jalen Thornton. Have really done a nice job. That's what we've talked about in camp was quality depth. And, you obviously don't know till you get to Saturday with how they perform and how they execute the game plan. So we'll see, but they have had really good camps, and that's one of those 3 guys or 3 that we've talked about that have to contribute.
As Jared, I'll ask you, when you go into an opener, do you approach it from, okay, this is what we do well, start with that, and then adjust off of that to what they do? Is that
I think that, that's common sense approach, yeah.
Do defenses have to adjust more in openers than offenses just because you have to react more to what they do?
There are always things that formation or play that you're probably going to see that you haven't seen or that you haven't worked as much as you need to. I think a lot of times it depends on the flow of the game. You know, you don't know what kind of game, how they're trying to attack you, so it's, you know, it's a little bit of a chess match there. But yeah, you're always going to see things you have to adjust to.
Jordan, you mentioned moving some guys around. Sean, I think at end, I mean, he's big. I thought maybe, I don't know if he get inside kind of too, but has he kind of accelerated just by taking more of that position?
Yeah, I think I've talked about this with Sean before. A lot of guys of that stature, what you're trying to get, and Sean's a really big kid, and so what you're trying to get caught up with that is his functional strength for his body type. So I think for right now, being able to hold up on the defensive line, that's probably a little bit fits his strength-wise where he's at. I think eventually, long term, he's a guy that can play, you know, all over the front for us, which is what we look for.
Just natural pass rushing ability, that size and length, being able to keep guys off.
Yeah, sometimes with that length, it's a little bit different how they attack an offensive lineman, but you know, you obviously you create issues with windows and separation, and which is what he does best.
How much do you think Dixon and Stevens play at linebacker?
Play count percentage, really don't know. They're going to have to play. They're going to have to help us. You know, that's one of the areas you mentioned a minute ago about the depth, and you know, they've had really good camps. Yeah, they're going to have to contribute.
Same go with Bartlett and Carr.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You know, Jared he really worked a lot on putting on some weight, and there's really not a lot of weight, but just strength for his size, for what he does. He was able to do that this offseason, has had a good camp. Linnell Carr actually went through the spring at defensive end, and I think for what some of the things we're doing, he just fits a little better at Bandit. So those three guys, Bandarius, Jared, and Linnell, they give us kind of what we're looking for at that position with a you know, a good pass rusher, but a good blitzer, can drop, can do, you know.
Because I know that position is kind of the showcase position in that defense. You go back through your time at Troy. Mm-hmm. Is that you getting what you want out of that position?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Van Darius, and we've talked about this before. I think it's kind of been unlucky, but I think he's ready to have a really good year. And so, yeah, that position, I think right now, how we're using it is, and hopefully we do. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I think a couple of things that we've simplified a couple of things and just kind of let the guys play. But yeah, we that's obviously the focal point of the defense in the front, and I think that those guys they've done a great job. I've got to do a good job of not asking them to do what they're good at, and not asking them to do something they're not good at. So we'll see.
I know historically in that scheme, that has been a position that's got a lot of performance.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of pretty good pieces of last year's defense, some of them unexpectedly. Do you feel like you're rebuilding or
No.
just filling in holes?
No. But fill in holes. Yep.
Jordan, you got senior leaders at all levels of this defense that are all major parts of the defense that had a really good year last year. Confidence-wise, how different does that room feel over there at this point this year than maybe going into the Eastern Kentucky game last year?
Well, there's a lot of things that feel different. Just the nature of the year. You've had a full off season, really for the most part uninterrupted. So that part of it's totally different than 2020, which a lot of things are. Leadership wise, I'm really excited about this group. These guys. I mean, I think anytime that, whether you have COVID or not, when you get into year 3 of a system, and the guys that have been in it, even the guys that have been in it for 2, if they've had 2 springs, which some of these guys have, that they really start to feel comfortable. And the more comfortable you are, the more confident you are. And so that's really what I've been striving to get this group to be, especially over this off season. And they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, guys, like you said, there's leaders at every level, and I think that they're starting, at least through camp. They've very few days that we didn't come out and have make plays and feed off each other, and it's good to see. It's fun to coach. So they start to have a grasp of the scheme, and start to see things through their position coach's eyes and my eyes, and it just kind of slows the game down. And that when they can do that, they can play really confident.
Maryland's offense play with much tempo, and how confident are you your substitution against tempo? We guys did good with that last year.
Yeah, honestly, don't know. They did some last year, but after 3 got hurt, it's really kind of hard to tell how much. I think they were, the tight end position. I know they were a little thin at, so I don't know how much they were able to do with that. So really don't know how much tempo we're expecting, or if it's tempo and then alert, check with me's type of offense, which a lot of teams do. So we're expecting it. I mean, most everybody has a version of tempo now, and we always prepare for it. Our offense, we get a good look at that at practice. So
Rakeem Jarrett, what jumps out when you watch him?
Speed. He's really fast, and to be a 200-pound kid that's, obviously hard guy to tackle in space, because he has a lot of power to go with the speed. Good change of direction, quick area burst. He's a guy.
And their ex Demas, I think he's got the most experience. 217 pounds. They've got some size out there.
Big guy. They move him around a lot. I think what I've seen what they do as good as anybody is find the matchups that they want. Moving those guys around by shifts, motions, and formations. They do a really nice job with them.
Any other questions for Coach Lesley? Okay, Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys.